When most people hear sustainable development, they picture recycling bins or solar panels, but the term is much broader. Dr. Nguyen, can you unpack what sustainable development actually means today?
Absolutely. At its core, sustainable development is about meeting the needs of the present without jeopardizing future generations' ability to meet theirs. It's a multidimensional approach, blending economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection.
That triad economy, society, environment often seems at odds. For instance, rapid economic expansion can strain natural resources. How do sustainability strategies reconcile these tensions?
It's a balancing act. For example, the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, emphasize synergies across areas like poverty reduction, clean energy, and gender equality. These frameworks encourage integrated planning rather than siloed solutions.
To understand current strategies, it's useful to look back. How did the concept of sustainable development originate, and how has it evolved over time?
The term gained prominence with the Brundtland Report in 1987, but its roots stretch further. Early conservation efforts in forestry and fisheries, for instance, recognized that overexploitation led to collapse lesson echoed throughout history.
It's interesting you mentioned collapse. Jared Diamond's work on societies like Easter Island highlights catastrophic consequences when sustainability is ignored. How have modern frameworks tried to avoid repeating these mistakes?
Modern strategies incorporate adaptive management and systems thinking. For example, the precautionary principle now guides policy, urging action even with incomplete evidence to prevent irreversible harm, something past societies lacked.
Let's tackle a classic tension: economic growth versus environmental protection. Is it truly possible to grow economies without depleting resources?
It's a persistent debate. Traditional models equated GDP growth with progress, but studies, like the 2019 Global Footprint Network report, show we're consuming 1.75 Earth's worth of resources annually. Decoupling growth from resource use is critical.
Some argue for green growth, others for degrowth. Can you clarify these concepts and whether either is viable at scale?
Green growth seeks efficiency, producing more with less via innovations like circular economies. Degrowth, conversely, advocates for deliberately reducing consumption in wealthy nations. Both have merits, but each faces political and practical hurdles.
Technology is often hailed as the savior of sustainability. From renewable energy to AI-driven agriculture, what are the most promising tech-driven strategies right now?
Renewables are leading the charge. Solar and wind now supply 29% of global electricity. Precision agriculture uses sensors and data analytics to cut water usage by up to 50%. These innovations demonstrate how tech can both boost productivity and curb resource depletion.
But technology can also have unintended consequences. For instance, electric vehicles require rare minerals, sometimes mined unsustainably. How can we ensure new tech doesn't create new problems?
That's the rebound effect. Efficiency gains can spur more consumption. Life cycle assessments and stronger supply chain standards are needed to minimize such trade-offs, ensuring tech advances net positive outcomes.
Transitioning from theory to action, let's discuss policy. What policy instruments have proven most effective for driving sustainability?
Market-based tools like carbon pricing and cap-and-trade systems incentivize emissions cuts efficiently. For example, Sweden's carbon tax has reduced emissions by 27% since the 1990s. Regulations, subsidies for clean tech, and green public procurement also play crucial roles.
Are there cases where certain policies backfired or had limited impact?
Definitely. Biofuel subsidies in the U.S., meant to cut emissions, led to deforestation elsewhere. This illustrates the need for holistic, context-specific policy design that anticipates indirect effects.
Corporations are major players in sustainability. How are businesses adapting their models to address long-term environmental and social risks?
There's a shift from shareholder to stakeholder capitalism. Companies like Unilever and Patagonia now measure triple bottom lines: people, planet, profit. ESG, environmental, social, governance, criteria guide investment decisions, and studies show ESG-aligned firms outperform peers during crises.
Skeptics sometimes label these efforts as greenwashing. How can stakeholders discern genuine commitment from marketing spin?
Transparency is key. Independent audits, science-based targets, and mandatory sustainability reporting are some mechanisms that help hold corporations accountable.
Shifting focus, sustainable development isn't just a top-down process. What unique strategies emerge when communities and indigenous groups lead the way?
Community-led initiatives often blend traditional ecological knowledge with modern science. In the Amazon, indigenous managed lands have deforestation rates 3 times lower than state-controlled areas, a testament to local stewardship.
Are there challenges in scaling such localized models, especially given the diversity of cultural contexts?
Certainly, scaling requires respecting local governance structures and avoiding one-size-fits-all solutions. Co-management agreements and participatory planning processes are effective ways to bridge these gaps.
Measurement is often the Achilles heel of sustainability. How can we track real progress beyond GDP or vague promises?
New indices like the Genuine Progress Indicator and the Social Progress Index offer broader views, incorporating health, education, and environmental quality. The SDG dashboard is another tool, using 232 unique indicators to monitor global efforts.
But with so many metrics, isn't there a risk of data overload or cherry picking?
Absolutely. Consistency, transparency, and third-party verification are vital to prevent manipulation. Open data platforms and citizen science projects also increase accountability.
Even with sound strategies, implementation hits roadblocks. What are the most persistent barriers to sustainable development in practice?
Political inertia, short-term profit motives, and unequal resource distribution are major hurdles. For example, fossil fuel subsidies still outpace renewables by a factor of 3 globally, undermining clean transitions.
Trade-offs seem inevitable, like job losses in coal regions during energy transitions. How can policymakers manage such conflicts fairly?
Just transition frameworks offer solutions, providing retraining, social safety nets, and community investment to cushion affected workers and regions.
Looking ahead, what emerging innovations and global partnerships give you hope for advancing sustainable development?
Advanced materials like graphene for efficient batteries and AI-driven ecosystem monitoring are game changers. On the collaboration front, initiatives like the European Green Deal and the African Union's Agenda 2063 show that regional alliances can drive ambitious progress.
Can these innovations scale quickly enough to meet the 2030 SDG targets? Or is more radical change needed?
Incremental gains matter, but systemic transformation, rethinking consumption, urban design, and global equity remains essential. The next decade will be a decisive test of our collective resolve.